What's up, everybody? It's Jaron from Berkshire Bike Board, where our mission is to transform lives by inspiring a cycling lifestyle, where this bike and this particular rider are a great example of that. So stay tuned to see what I mean by that and how this bike fits into that kind of mission statement. Customer's name is John. You all know him. He joins us on all the group rides. Comes into the bike shop, I would say 5 years ago now, and it was time for John to become a little bit more active. Now, without revealing his age back then, although I think it was something like a 7 and a 0. It's not a great age to go out and buy yourself a new tarmac and some Lycra and show up on the A ride here that averages 23 miles an hour. It's like, that's not gonna work. But for us, it's really important to try and figure out a way to get a customer out there riding, regardless of their ability level, their skill set. You know, it's the more people on the road, the better for us. And again, that mission to transform lives by inspiring a cycling lifestyle, it's more so to the people who aren't bike riders and less to that point at the end of the spear rider. So this bike encompasses everything that we're like really proud of here at the bike shop. So anyway, said customer, John, you all know him and love him, shows up and he is looking for a bicycle. And this bike wasn't out then. So we steered him towards a Raleigh Tamlin, one of the first drop bar road bikes that hit the market in the United States. Again, this is 5-6 years ago at this point. John gets the bike, he loves it. He's having the time of his life. He's riding, he's joining us on the group rides. He turns from, you know, someone who needed to find a way to become more active, and all of a sudden he's a full-fledged bike rider. You know, group rides, wearing the shorts, clipping in, speaks the lingo. It was amazing to see that transformation happen, and it happened pretty quick. So at a certain point, John starts to outgrow the Raleigh Tamlin. If you remember that bicycle, it was a full powered bicycle, so it had a 700 or so watt-hour battery on it. It was 55, 60 pounds. Not exactly a sports car, even though it did have the drop bars. It was more like a Dodge Hellcat than a Ferrari F240, or if you will, you know. BMW M3 is maybe a better way to put it. This is the BMW M3. So when John outgrew the Tamlin, it was time for us to figure out what was gonna be a good bike for him, and Specialized had just come out with the Creo. Now, one thing that's really important about the Creo is that even though this is a drop bar road bike, right, it's got the drop handlebars, it's got what's called an endurance geometry. So a long time ago, the bike manufacturers realized that most people who buy road bikes aren't going out and racing on every single weekend. Aerodynamics in the riding position is less important than comfort. So drop bar bike, but super comfortable geometry. Now, if I go through the bike, a few other things that are really cool about this is that this also has Specialized Future Shock in the front. So what the Future Shock is like 1.5 or 2 centimeters. It's about an inch of travel on the front, just a spring. The new one is a little bit more dampened, but again, a little bit of comfort on those kind of open roads. Great for that person who maybe is less concerned with setting the land speed record and more concerned about long days in the saddle where comfort is paramount. First thing about this bike that's pretty important to me or to the rider is that this bike has a Specialized Future Shock in the front. It's like about an inch of travel. The newer one is dampened, helps to really comfort your ride. Second part is we've got a big old light in the front, cycling computer, which is paired to this radar in the back. Everything you need to kind of feel comfortable and safe out on the road, right? One other little side note, feels like you're kind of snooping through people's underwear drawer when you do this, but I had to take a peek. What does John have in here? My man. Beautiful little set of hand wipes for when you have to put your chain back on out on the road. After a little snack, gotta have the wet wipes. Sorry, John. That's kind of the cockpit. The other thing is it's very ergonomic, right? You've got a flare bar on a bicycle like this in an upright riding position, again, in that endurance road position. So the next thing about this bike that I think is super important and often gets unnoticed is it's got a dropper seat post on it. So you might think to yourself, oh, dropper seat post on a road bike or a gravel bike, not really that necessary. Well, again, for this person, and I think for a lot of people out there, what's so important about it sometimes gets overlooked. So there's 2 reasons. I press the dropper seat post lever and I put the seat post down. If I'm barreling down a gravel road that's a little bit kind of hairy, and I'm like this and I'm in aggressive riding position, it's not super confidence inspiring. I push that button in, I sit down on my post, I have a dropper seat post. Now all of a sudden my center of gravity is lower and I feel like I have much more control over the bike on a little bit more tricky technical descent. The other part of this that everybody thinks about that I think is the creme de la creme, the most important thing about it is a lot of people, especially as they get a little bit older, struggle to get on and off bicycles, especially road bikes. When your seat is a few inches lower, all of a sudden, swinging your leg around the back of the bicycle is 1,000 times easier. So pro tip, having trouble getting on and off your bicycle, think about a dropper post. Another thing that's cool about this bicycle, this is not a water bottle. This is a battery. It's an extra battery called a range extender. This bike as is kind of has what you need to get through a Berkshire Bike Board group ride of 30 or so miles. But on the weekends, you're gonna go 50, 60, 70 miles. You start to get some range anxiety on a bike like this. Again, this particular bike, I think in the medium power setting, averaging 16 miles an hour, you can do 40 or so miles, but this adds another 30 or so miles of range. So again, that long cafe ride on a Saturday or Sunday morning, range extender is the way to go. John has got one of these on his bike, and it kind of hides right in your water bottle cage. It's a traditional Specialized Z water bottle cage that also will hold a water bottle on your shorter rides. The thing that's cool about this is that you put it on when you need the extra range. Obviously it adds some weight, but on those days when you're going 30 or 40 miles, you take it off the bike, you've got all of a sudden a 35, 40 pound bike. It's much lighter and much more easier to maneuver. This just stays at home. One other like really cool tech thing, like we're starting to see some bikes now come integrated with the radar. This bike, it's just a traditional Garmin radar hanging off the back of the bike, but that coupled with this computer on the front allows you to see when cars are coming up behind you to, again, feel safer on the road. That person who maybe is new to road cycling, and it goes quite the distance for adding some peace of mind to your your bike riding adventures. So last but not least, for John's bike here, we did a modification after he had it for a year or so, which is we swapped the cassette that came on the bike, which I think was a 1142 or 1134, something like that. It didn't have enough range for him to feel confident going up some of the really steep hills around here in the Berkshires. So the name Creo, which is the name of this bicycle, in Spanish means to believe. And so I think Specialized was kind of like going along the like, I think I can motto when they were creating this bike for people who, again, sometimes maybe have some trouble keeping up, or they're getting into cycling or making it up that really steep hill. So Creo is the name they came up with to kind of inspire that. Now, again, this bike, the Berkshires have some really, really steep gradient hills, like 20% type thing. And so John wanted an even bigger cassette. So we swapped this bike from the traditional mechanical GX SRAM group set, which had like a 42 tooth cassette on the back, to a 52. So he's got a 44 in the front and a 52 in the back, which is an amazing gear ratio when you want to continue to keep your cadence high, but climb up the big steep hills that we have here in the Berkshires. So again, this bike has totally been set up to inspire somebody to get out and ride. Specialized Turbo Creo, the biggest modification on this thing is we've put a 52 tooth cassette on the back to really help get up some of the super steep gradients around here in the Berkshires. And again, like this bicycle, it's got everything you would want if you were a cyclist who maybe is getting into the sport, or some of the steep hills are getting harder as you get older. And it's served its purpose. It's served our mission here at Berkshire Bike Board, which is to inspire a cycling lifestyle. And it's helped to turn John into the cyclist that he is today, which is something that I think, I'm sure he's proud of, but more importantly, I think we're super proud of it. So really cool bike, really cool rider. Say hi to him next time you're out on the group ride. And like I always say, round up for distance, round up for time. Thanks for watching. Good luck in editing this video, Jason.